Welcome to Zentangle Project Pack No.15. This is day 4. My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria, and Rick is doing some really interesting things here.
I'm looking at how to look at potential patterns that shapes would form, and in this case, it would be shapes of letters. I bought these little camping mirrors from Amazon. I think they were like, $5 or something.
Camping?
Yeah, like you could signal with it, or you could
I see.
hang it up and, brush your teeth or shave or whatever. Now, see, that shape is very similar to what I did on the day 2. And in this case, I just taped 2 mirrors together, because then when you put it up against something, you can see what it would look like if there were 4 of them.
It's a handy-dandy tool, Ricky.
Isn't that cool?
Only Ricky would think of this, right?
Well, I would like to take credit, but if you look in like the quilting industry, they have all these really sophisticated things. So another part is how to eliminate distractions. So you could like isolate a part of a shape, again, in this case, a letter, and see, okay, well, if I just use that part of the letter,
It becomes a K.
It becomes all these, and you can just move it around. So, it transforms. Is it a K? Is it an R? Is it a P? Is it just something I don't even recognize? And I used that to come up with my inspiration. So now here I'm getting close to how I'm going to use this R. And another tool you can use is to cut 2 pieces of paper like this, and you can use it as a framing device to isolate parts of a form, again, in this case, letters, that you could then think, oh, what if I did that and duplicated it in different directions, mirroring, rotating, and what would that look like? So this gives you that tool to actually see something that you might not have, ooh, that's a great idea. So I'm taking that idea from that last image, and you'll see, oh, what's that tape, or what's that on our friends in Taiwan at Created with Love made this lovely washi tape.
Oh, I thought it was sushi tape.
No,
okay. Washi.
Washi tape, and it fits under there, and it also is a reminder to me to keep my fingers back so you can see the tip of the pen. That was Maria's suggestion, and I think it worked pretty well.
Sometimes lose the sight of what you had in mind.
Right. And the way I'm doing these letters is I'm first doing a diagonal from the middle of one side to the middle of the other side. And then I'm going to draw the letter in. And then this, I'm just letting it go wherever it goes. And I think it probably goes there.
Phi-ish.
It goes phi-ish. And if you remember from but from day 3's video, where Maria showed how she worked with that alphabet, I'm using those same principles of like thickening the ends, adding some rounding to create this sort of, like we were saying, what was that? Reverse carving or something?
Sculpting.
Reverse sculpting, yeah.
So you're sculpting, but instead of taking away, you're adding to.
Right. Maybe I'm sculpting away the white space.
Okay, that's good.
So just using that rounding, these very basic Zentangle principles. And then this is like that concept of what we're calling for now anchored auras. So it's like tethered at one end, tethered at the other, and then I fill that in.
Pretty R, huh?
There's my R.
It's got a different tail than you usually see on a Roman, right?
Right.
But Rick found this particular R in some vintage
One
alphabet.
Of your books, yeah.
A vintage alphabet.
So I'm using the brown pen to do the aura, and then I set for myself this elegance of limits. Like, okay, in this video, I want to use all of the tools, meaning all of the different colors. And so now I'm using that like pink PN, and I am using flux for the the pattern that radiates or embraces or whatever is going to fill
Backgrounds,
that
yeah.
background. Yep. Doing those flux shapes. Just sort of responding to each one.
And just for everybody to know that you can do these fluxes going in any direction.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't have to be the same direction as what Rick is doing because they fill so elegantly. You might find different ways of fitting those together and fitting them differently on each tile.
Right. And I'm leaving a little bit of gap as well. So I'm sort of I'm auraing the flux up against that aura. You'll see I chose not to touch it. And here I'm using that orange micron to fill in the spaces with orbs. And
The spaces that were left.
The spaces that were left with the flux.
Yeah.
And then the little gaps in between, I'm coloring those in to give us sort of a presence.
Some solid color, which is
Right.
always nice to see.
And again, these are totally not colors I would have chosen, but I love being, inspired to use tools or materials that I wouldn't have otherwise chosen. So there's the flux and or the flux as I do
The
it.
fluxer.
And flux usually has these little, center spines there. It always reminds me of like a small leaf, and I'm using the gold to put that down. Sometimes it has a dot, sometimes not. And if you need to, like that space, you can always draw your flux element in a hollowbar fashion. Your call. So I'm also going back and adding dots because I love dots. And I don't usually do that in flux, but with this pen, it sort of looks like a print or a Peter Max or something with these colors. So that's one element. So now I want to do another element, and I want these, remembering the mirror, I want them to meet at the same place. So they go middle to middle. And in this case, we're mirroring. So it is, going to do the R backwards, so to speak. And a neat part of this is by drawing your letter form in a mirror image, you're really now focusing on the shapes that it has instead of, oh yeah, that's an R. And it brings a different level of awareness to it. And I want my tail to arrive at the same place for the same reason, because imagining there's a mirror there, so I sort of target that. Okay, so it's close enough, right? And now I'm going to do the thickening or the reverse sculpting, and I want that to be somewhat similar where they're going to meet. So I use that first tile as a reference. And then I did it on all four. So now my gold has dried enough that I can add some graphite. And I like the idea that these leaves are like perhaps just coming out of the ether and just coming into form from these, any direction, like Maria said, with these little bubbles of energy around them. And that one doesn't have a little spine, so it just is going to be the way it is. And then go back in with the tortillon and invite that graphite into the paper, and then just pull it out a little bit. Soft, gentle strokes. And remember, the whole point of shading is that idea of contrast. So if everything becomes shaded, then nothing is shaded.
Nothing is shaded, right?
Okay, so I will now go back and go back and work on all of my other 3 tiles.
And again, he's not doing his flux exactly the same on each one. So
Right.
And you'll see that it doesn't make any difference at all.
This is like Maria said, this is more of a texture. So I'm not referencing where these elements go compared to the first tile. And it's fun, just like, oh, where would this one come off and which direction? And you get to really appreciate and interact with the available spaces. And you can decide to put a little orb in there or not. And again, I'm leaving just a little bit of a gap to the edge as well. Turn your tile. Here I have all of my tiles complete and putting them in there so you can see how they go together.
So just to be clear, there's 2 R's that look the same and then 2 mirrored
Right.
ones that look the same. So there's only 2 images
There's
here.
actually 2 images, right? Isn't that cool?
It's very beautiful.
But wait, look what happens. Since we did it in the middle and these meet, you can put them together in different ways, and you have this meta pattern that extends across that grid, across that reticula.
Beautiful.
And you can play with, I mean, there's multiple ways, just looking at all the different possibilities. And once you appreciate those possibilities, well, then you can see, well, maybe I could, what if I had more of those, right? So part of the exercise here is I took a picture of 4 of them together, of the 4 together in different ways. And then I went into my, in this case, Photoshop, but there's all sorts of different tools online that you can just take a picture and then create a tiling.
There's a free app.
Yeah, there's a free app and all sorts of crazy stuff. But this is what it looks like when they're put together in one particular way. And in a different way.
Beautiful. It looks like a really, from the Middle Ages, right? Something like a background for, marbled paper.
And we have these little glassine envelopes, so such a treasure as this and whatever treasures you create certainly deserve that treatment. And look forward to what you create and look forward to all the tilings you can do with it.
Fun project, Ricky. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you the next day.
Bye.
Bye now.
Awesome.